Hello, I'm Dr. Sherry, your cruise through history storyteller. I absolutely enjoy transporting people to places shaped by inspiring personalities, and Barcelona is certainly one of those places. Even if you've been there numerous times, you may not have been to the Palace of Count Güell or the Palace of Music, and I'd like to take you there today. Those who arrive in Barcelona by cruise ship, especially early in the morning, and see that golden glow, you immediately realize that you're being enveloped in some special place, even if you can't put a name to it. The people of Barcelona have a name for it. They call it Catalan Modernisme, that which is uniquely Catalonian and modern. It's a way of taking historic style, old style, classical Spanish Castilian architecture, and combining it with what was popular in late 19th, early 20th century Europe, the Art Nouveau style, the soft, flowing, colorful lines embellished by flowers and mythical motifs such as dragons. It all fits into Barcelona, but even though Barcelona is more French than Spanish, it is not a copy of Paris. It's something quite different. Look around and see the statue of Juan Miró, Woman and a Bird, and the National Art Museum done by Caldefich, or at least begun by Caldefich, even if the design was eventually attributed to someone else. Politics and art are not good bedfellows. And in 1928, German architect Mies van der Rohe came to Barcelona to construct the modern building that has become a classic of modern architecture for the World Exposition in Barcelona. And in that building, he placed only two pieces of furniture: a throne for the King and Queen of Spain. We know them as Barcelona chairs. And by the way, those chairs were reproduced in the United States in the mid-50s. And if you have a Barcelona chair by Knoll, you could sell it today and pay for your next world cruise. But moving on from there, as we walk through the streets and we notice these bits of architecture that will become familiar to us as Catalan Modernisme, I want to focus on two architects, each responsible for one of the two places I want to share with you today. And the first is Antoine Gaudi. Gaudi, of course, you know of as the constructor, the artist behind Parc Güell, built above the city on 50 acres that belong to his patron, Count Güell. And each of these buildings is just a magical little place that you wander through. You're greeted by a mosaic dragon fountain, and you wander through cliffs and around benches and through wonderful, wonderful places. Mr. Güell himself actually came to live here in 1910. It was while building this park that Gaudi stepped back to look at his creation, looked uphill, completely engrossed in his thoughts, and a cable car came around the corner and clipped him and caused his death, 1923. And under construction at that time was the great church, Sagrada Familia. That church will be completed in 2023. The idea is it will be opened formally, the grand opening, on the 100th anniversary of the death of Antoine Gaudi. When you travel to Barcelona today, many tourists head for Casa Miló, that beautiful, frothy apartment building on Passeig Gracia, where they look up and see these wonderful whipped cream chimney pieces. And if you're fortunate, you'll have a tour of the building. And you notice that the balconies are encased by wrought iron sculpture work. The entire building is a piece of sculpture. That's the way Gaudi wished it. No straight lines, but flowing walls of this building that takes you inside. This is Catalan Modernisme as interpreted by Antoine Gaudi, but where I want to take you to is the home of his patron, a place you may not have been. The hop-on, hop-off buses will take you to Park Güell and Casa Miló and Casa Batillo and past Sagrada Familia, but I want you to come back to the port and look for the statue, look for the pillar with Columbus on top. This is the beginning of La Rambla. The main pedestrian mall through old Barcelona. And as we walk down La Rambla, we're only walking a block or two, and off to the left, it looks like a castle tucked into a streetscape, and it's imposing and yet light. Gaudi takes that which he has historically known, the structure of the street, and he's added his ironwork in a sculpted way that makes it seem light and airy. This is Catalan Modernisme. And we'll walk into this building through the gates where guests would have arrived in 1888, and we'll buy our tickets and go up the stairs just as the grand guests would have done when they came for the exposition in 1929. And as we walk in, we're invited into the center hall, and you want to look up because you'll see the skylight. It's pierced so that little stars are forever looking down on us. Remember that this building was constructed before central air conditioning, and so there is light and airflow that is coming through the center building. So even though Gaudi is a sculptural artist, he is not without his architectural sensibilities. And as we go up the internal stairs, you'll see that Gaudi even designed the furniture for this building. Attached to the stairwell railing is a bench because Mr. Güell, after he climbed the stairs, needed a place to sit. But look around you, the walls, the ceiling, the stairs, they're all integrated into one seamless piece of architecture. This is Palace Güell, as envisioned by Gaudi. Also, while we're in that center building, there's a chapel in the center with these heavy doors. It looks like we're entering a vault. And then we go through some other doors, not quite as tall, somewhat heavy, and that takes us into the music room. And you can see in the wood paneling, again, mythical beasts like a dragon. And turn around and look through the windows into the dining room. You step from environment to environment, looking up with the ceiling and the walls around you. The sense of art never leaves you. Take your time. Notice the outside of the building if you go out in the back patio. And the places I don't want you to miss are the roof and the basement. The basement is the wine cellar with these heavy columns that support the building as part of this round and moving sculptural element. But up on the roof, you'll see these conical chimney caps, and they look like a forest of fir trees, some just sculpted and some with mosaic. What a place to take tea is to go up and sit on the roof and look out over old Barcelona. This is the Palace of Count Güell. It's exceptional. It's on the World Heritage Site list, along with Sagrada Familia and another of the places that I'm going to take you to. So let's go to that next place. Let's go out onto La Rambla, and let's head toward Plaza Catalunya, the center plaza of the old city of Barcelona, as we approach the Palace of Music. This is the work of Lluis Montaner, the dean of the School of Architecture. Indeed, he literally wrote the book on Catalan Modernisme. And I want you to think of the other buildings before we go into the Palace of Music. Look at the progression of this architect in his style. When in 1888, he designed the restaurant for the Natural History Museum for the exposition, there's rounded arch over the windows that lead you into the restaurant. But yet the rounded arch is set into a building that looks like a castle, something out of the Knights of Spain. And the front of the building, because this is a natural history museum, you see these three animals, and those are dragons. Actually, you might think of them as something else, but they are dragons, and the building is known as Tres Dragons. And then we come to the next building, and this is Hospital St. Paul as we know it. This building is also on the World Heritage Site list. And here, the master, Montaner, has taken a page from the book of the student, Gaudi. And he has infused this building with mosaic. There are saints, but there are also mythical beasts. So think of being a patient in this hospital at the turn of the century into the 20th century. And it was Montaner's idea that the hospital should not be a constricted place, but it should have patient wings that radiate out. So there are windows along each of the wings that bring in light and air. What a novel thought in 1905, to help the patients heal by bringing in light and air. And what do the wings look out on? They look out on Sagrada Familia. So even though the master, the dean of the school, told Gaudi, you'll never be an architect, you're an artist, in tribute to the artist, Montaner had all of his rooms look out upon Sagrada Familia to inspire the patients to be well. And now we are outside the second stop, and this is the Palace of Music. It took from 1905 to 1908 to construct. And first, look at this building. The thick outer support columns embedded with mosaics, bright and colorful and lovely, not busy, but as if Montaner is himself a bit of an artist who's painting with mosaic into his building. And look up to the second floor balcony. We can come out onto that second floor balcony after we've bought our tickets and gone in and gone up the stairs, and we'll walk out onto that balcony. It looks like it's being held by slender columns that look like rugs from Morocco. So many colors, so many lines and designs going around us. It's like a fugue of color. Now we'll go into the concert hall for a fugue of music. Because indeed, although this is a beautiful, beautiful work of Catalan Modernisme, although the windows are stained glass and we are surrounded by light and color, the acoustics in this room are excellent. It was designed for a choral group that commissioned it in 1905 as their performance venue. The back of it is curved, and it has the four muses of the arts. This backspace, this backstop helps give the room its acoustics. And the proscenium, that arch over the stage we call the proscenium, in most theaters it's very plain. It simply hides the workings for the curtains. But here, the proscenium is carved. It is part of the story of the building. On the left-hand side are stories of folk music and folkways that are historic in Catalonia. And on the right-hand side, we see a sculpture of Beethoven and Wagner, because classical music is welcome here. Folk music and classical music, choral music and orchestras, all are welcome in the Palace of Music. And don't miss looking up at the skylight, this beautiful color. Gaudi had no straight lines, and Montaner has many straight lines, each architect exhibiting their craft in Catalan Modernisme. So walk back on the Ramblas, walk through the city, enjoy a cafe before you leave. And I hope that you've enjoyed visiting two sites often overlooked by tourists, but enjoyed by travelers, those people who look deep. And I hope that you'll join me again for other stories of Barcelona and other places in the world. If you can't be with me on the video, you can read all of those stories in the Cruise Through History storybooks, which are arranged with stories that go along a typical cruise itinerary. So many ports, so many stories. Until we meet again, be well.